All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to be detectives, and our mystery is one of those really tricky error codes, Ford code P1798. Yeah, if you've ever had this one pop up on your scanner, you know exactly what I mean. It's a real head-scratcher.
So there it is, that dreaded check engine light, just glowing on your dash. You plug in your scanner, and it spits out this code, P1790A. So what on earth is your car trying to tell you? Because, it's not just random letters and numbers. It's a very specific message, and it's pointing to a communication breakdown happening deep inside your car.
Okay, so like any good detective, the first thing we gotta do is understand the language of the case. We're gonna decode this message. We'll break down all the key players so that P1790A stops sounding like a bunch of tech jargon and starts sounding like a real clue we can follow.
First up, let's talk about the PCM, the Powertrain Control Module. Honestly, the easiest way to think about this is that it's your car's brain. Simple as that. This is the central computer making thousands of decisions every single second just to keep your engine humming along perfectly.
Okay, but a brain's no good if it can't talk to the rest of the body, right? Well, that's where the CAN bus comes in, the Controller Area Network. Think of this as your car's nervous system. It's the super complex network of wires that zaps commands and data between all the different parts of your car.
And that brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, the turbocharger actuator. So if the PCM is the brain and the CAN bus is the nervous system, then the actuator, well, that's the muscle. This is the part that gets the command from the brain and then physically does the work of adjusting the turbo. So when you put all that together, the official kind of technical definition of P179A suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. The code gets triggered when the brain, the PCM, tells the muscle, the turbo actuator, to do something and then gets nothing back. Just radio silence. The message either never got there or the reply never came back. It's basically a communication timeout. And this is the really crucial part to understand. The problem isn't necessarily that your turbo itself is broken. This code is specifically about the conversation stopping. The brain sent a text, the muscle never replied, and now the brain is throwing up a flag saying, hey, there's a problem with our communication line. All right, so we've cracked the code. We know what the message means. Now the real detective work can begin. A communication breakdown like this always has a cause, and that brings us to our 4 main suspects. So our investigation points to 4. Let's call them persons of interest. The culprit is almost always going to be one of these 4. Faulty wiring, a busted actuator, a problem with the car's brain itself, or maybe just a simple software glitch. Let's take a closer look at each one in our lineup.
Suspect number 1, faulty wiring. You can think of this like a pinched or damaged nerve in the nervous system. I mean, these CAN bus wires live in a really tough neighborhood under the hood. You've got constant vibrations, crazy heat, moisture, all that can lead to corrosion or a connection just shaking loose and snap, that vital communication link is broken. Next up in our lineup, suspect number 2, a failed actuator. Sometimes it's really simple. The muscle just gets tired and gives out. After thousands and thousands of movements, simple wear and tear can do it in. Or it could be a manufacturing defect. Either way, the actuator fails inside and it just can't respond to the brain's commands anymore. Then we've got a more, let's say, serious suspect, a corrupted PCM. It's more rare for sure, but sometimes the problem is actually with the brain itself. Maybe it's got some internal software bugs, or it's been damaged by extreme heat, or maybe an electrical surge from a voltage spike scrambled things up. And finally, our 4th suspect, and this is the one that's often the easiest and cheapest fix, thankfully. The problem might not be a physical part at all. It could just be the software. An outdated version, or maybe a single corrupted file in the PCM can be enough to misunderstand what's going on and throw up this error code.
So there's our lineup. We've got our 4 main suspects. But here's the thing. Unlike a detective on TV, we can't just throw parts at the problem and hope we get lucky. To find the real culprit, you need special tools and some serious know-how. And that brings us to how a pro actually solves this mystery. And listen, this is probably the single most important clue in this whole investigation. It is so tempting to just start guessing and replacing parts, right? Maybe it's the actuator. But trust me, that can get real expensive real fast. This communication network is so complex that a proper diagnosis is, well, it's not optional. A good tech isn't going to guess. They have the right tools to test the network and pinpoint exactly where the failure is. So after all this detective work, where does that leave you? Well, okay, the check engine light might still be on, but you're not in the dark anymore, right? So let's talk about your next step, because in this situation, knowledge really is power.
Look, the whole point of this wasn't to turn you into a master mechanic overnight. It was to make you an informed owner. You don't have to go into the repair shop blind anymore. Now you can walk in and have a smart conversation. You can ask things like, hey, did you check the wiring for corrosion? Or is it possible it's just a software update for the PCM? That knowledge, that's your best tool.
At the end of the day, that error code is just your car trying to talk to you. So the final question is pretty simple. When the message is this complicated and this important for your engine, who are you going to trust to get the translation right?